motion to reconvene open session?
So moved.
Motion by Vincent, seconded by Gutierrez. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes. Time is 7:07. Go ahead, Martha. Okay, a recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as a public record. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. All right, right hand over your heart. You ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. I am here, Maria's here, Bob's here, Adrian's here, and Mr. Boyd is here. Approve the agenda
With the correction?
with the correction. Do I have to tell you where it is?
Yes.
Okay, with the correction to page 6, personnel items. Mrs. Quintero Aguilera will be going to West Park rather than REF. As an office clerk rather than food service. Oh, I see that right
Which one was that again?
now. That's on page 6.
Yep.
And she's like right in the middle, Quintero. So, office clerk rather than food service to West Park. So approved with the correction. And who made a motion? Bob? Motion by Vincent, seconded by? Seconded by Brendan. Any discussion from the board? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thanks, guys. Okay. Reports and communications, RTA report. No? Okay. No. CSDA report. No? Okay. CBO report, Mr. Irving.
Alrighty, time of year again to wind down for this year and start next year. We've had 2 punch walks this week for the construction at Tropico. Yesterday, there was a punch walk where they asked the building contractor to go through each of the classrooms and identify any potential issues or anything like that prior to everybody giving the sign off that everything looks good and we're ready to, take possession of the buildings. It was productive. It was, that one was nice. It was indoors. The air conditioning is working in the classroom, so it's always a plus. I think we, gave them a lot to address, nothing major, a lot of good, just to make sure that every room is, turnkey and fine-tuned as possible prior to, students, having classes in there. And then this morning, was the punch walk with Medallion, the general contractor, most of the site work and, the work outside of the buildings, to go over, anything the district has identified as, okay, we'd like this addressed. And same with our architect and all of our engineers and everybody else, the consultants that, provided work and, instruction for the project, for the landscaping, electrical, civil engineer, make sure, okay, the, slope of the grass is going correctly so that water will remediate in the proper direction as opposed to, create a kind of puddle in the middle, those kinds of things. So, both were very productive. I had the opportunity to, go through the rest of the campus as opposed to just the Noah Park today as well to see the work that is happening with the painting so that the new paint is, starting to go down with a little bit more color than just primer and caulk, just everything's kind of light. So that work's proceeding fairly rapidly and looking good. So that, when everything is said and done for Tropico, that, it's a campus that is tied together and, aesthetic and pleasing. The budget is on this week's this board meeting for adoption. It's the end of June, so need to have that done before July 1, so that everybody's happy. CVE and the county, hey, Southern Kern, where's your budget? So we'll have more updates on what is projected at this point for 24-25. Thank you.
Thank you. And Assistant Superintendent of Instruction and Curriculum, Bargains.
Yes, on behalf of Dr. Larry Mendez, who is at the TLC conference with 34 team members. Dr. Mendez and Dr. Fisher and I met to discuss the continued work with all of our teachers and administrators on teacher clarity for this next school year. Dr. Fisher gave us some dates and we'll be finalizing those with him. We are continually recruiting students for the second session of summer school, which begins July 8th. There's still some room available out there. If you haven't sent your child to summer school and you would like to do that in July, please consider signing them up. As I mentioned, they have 34 team members currently at the PLC conference, and so we're very excited to any opportunity to train more of our teachers on professional learning communities and the value of that in their grade level and department meetings. Pretty much the rest of his items are on the agenda at a later time, and I'll talk a little bit later about those.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Assistant Superintendent of Special Education and Pupil Personnel, Ms. Taylor.
Hello, everybody. So in our department right now, we're just working on finishing up our end of year reports. We have some due to county and state. We're also we currently have extended school year going on, as well as our social emotional learning activities on all our campuses. And other than that, we're just preparing for next school year.
Right on. Thank you. All right, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources. Sorry.
So HR is pretty busy. We are down to our final few positions to hire, which is pretty exciting, being where we started. And now the fun begins getting all that paperwork and everything in order, credentials and all that stuff for getting everybody set to begin the next school year. Our classified, there was some testing that was held last week and that's for any staff members that wish to change classifications. We'll be doing that again. I'm not sure that we have a specific date, but we also do that on an individual basis. We have, people like, hey, I want to try to do this. Okay, come on in. You have from the table, they just sit there and do that. So we'll be doing that all summer as well. So yeah, just getting everything ready for the next school year, and I hope that everybody's enjoying their time.
Thank you. Superintendent support, Ms. Gaines.
Okay, good evening, and I want to welcome everyone here with us this evening, and also parents and family members who are joining us from home. As I mentioned a minute ago, summer session 2 begins July 8th through the 26th, and there is still some room available for our students if they would like to attend the 4 hours of summer school. I'm hearing there's a lot of fun and learning going on this first session, so we welcome our students to come out. I also want to remind our parents that our Parent and Community Center is open 5 days a week now, from 9:30 in the morning till 5 in the evening. And we have a wonderful gal in there, Miss Elizabeth Castagnon, who is in there every day to answer any questions you have, show you around the Parent Community Center. Parents, if you're looking for summer reading for your kids, there are a lot of new library books in the Parent Community Center that you can come in and just have your child pick one out or two. they're free. So we encourage all of our parents to just come and visit the Parent Center, and there's a lot of great things in there that I think you'll find informative, and an opportunity for you to use computers if you need to. So please check out our Parent Community Center, 9:35 Monday through Friday. Tell Elizabeth I sent you in there. Okay, I want to thank our teachers, our admin, who are teaching summer school. I'm sure they had other things they could have been doing these past 3 weeks. All of our classified staff who are making sure the kids have nutrition and lunch and everybody's being taken care of. I really, really appreciate them giving up their time this during the summer to prioritize our kids, and it means a lot. And so just wanted to say thank you, and hopefully you'll get some time to also enjoy your summer. Yesterday I had the opportunity to meet with our new principal at Tropico Middle School, Dr. Debbie Keys, and the assistant principals, and everybody is getting anxious, to say the least, with the potential opening of those 28 classrooms. So they decided where everybody was going to go on the campus, and it's exciting. It truly is exciting. So I can't wait for the teachers to see the classrooms, and I hope they like color. That's all I'm going to say, is I hope they like color, because there's a lot of color in those rooms, but they're beautiful. They're really, really beautiful. So that's pretty much all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, board member communications, I'm gonna start with you, Lady Bridget.
Okay, good evening everyone for joining us. I don't have too much. I just hope everyone is enjoying their summer, and for those of you that will be finishing up summer school, you too will get a chance to see.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, until the next session begins, July 8th. I also encourage you to stop by the Parent Community Center and maybe pick up some literature, use the, there's a lot of things available to parents, and so I hope they go and utilize that. Other than that, thank you. Mr. Boyd.
Recently, I had the opportunity to attend the Community Schools Conference in Hollywood with Ms. Hepburn as well. Really great things that they're doing at the community center, just mentioned. So looking to bring a lot of good programs with that angle, and that'll be really good for not only the students but for the community as well, because those things are open to pretty much everybody. So I encourage people to check that out as well. And we're making really great progress. I'm sure Mario will talk more about the construction on the subcommittee communications portion, but I had the opportunity to do the walkthrough Tropico this morning as well. It's looking fantastic, so I'm really excited about that when that gets open and expanded for that school.
Okay. I have a pet peeve with folks who put notices or put things on Facebook and they sign anonymous, okay? I'm sure up here, most of us get, I laugh, but it really is not funny, because there are people who are coming in to this district that are getting bad advice, getting bad information. And I want to put that out there is that if you can't, if you're not going to put your name down, then, you should, people shouldn't be listening to that advice. My advice is that call the school that you're going to and talk to the folks there. So from that's another thing that goes around, so forth, maybe Mario will hit me about it, but we get accused from the board's standpoint of protecting certain students, certain classes of students. I can tell everybody here that is not true. We do have certain procedures, certain rules, certain laws. In fact, one of them that starts on July 1st, in fact, it still bites us with the discipline of students. But once those are cleared, then we take care of the issue. And if everybody just turn around and say that I go after a certain protected class, let me tell you what my crew gets when I do my football games, when my pregame is that they're here to play football, they're not here to play anything else. If they're not playing football, you hit them fast, you hit them early, and we'll, and if I have to write the report, I'll write the report. Because we don't play up here, and I'm just really not happy with the folks. I don't know if they have an axe to grind, I don't know what they have or whatever, but it needs to stop as far as I'm concerned. I know it's not, but that's my opinion. And we started installing the audio system in the high school gym. We ran into a couple small little issues that we've got proposals in to fix it, but we should have a very good, very high quality audio system that can be either done for concerts and venues, and also we'll be able to have a better announcing system for our sports programs during the games. So that's coming up. That's all I have at this point.
Thank you, sir.
Everybody said it. Just want to wish everybody a good summer. For us up here, it's actually a very busy time because we don't have students on board, so we can actually get much stuff done. That's it. Everybody have a good summer.
Right on, I love it. Hello, guys, hello. Thank you guys for being here. All of you guys, good job. As Mr. Coy said, I was able to attend the Community School Summit, and it was so informational, it was so informative, and I felt powered, like, oh my gosh, we can do all this stuff for our community, for, the parents, for the students, with our community center, which is open 5 days a week now, which is amazing. So it's a resource that we, the community, parents, students, tap into that. There's lots of resources there, and when you get surveys, respond to them. Tell us what's going on so we can actually help and, make this community better, because this is a special place, okay? I'm looking forward to the school year coming up. I'm very excited. What else? Let me think. I don't know. I'm sending my kid to the second session of summer school, both of them. So thank you, teachers who are doing all that. And that's all I have. Comments from the public? Wait.
Subcommittee.
Sorry. Excuse me. Subcommittee communication.
Again, like Robert was saying, we did the walkthrough over at Tropico, and yes, you guys I can't wait for everybody to see that campus. It's the work that was done over the last 2 years has just been incredible. Working on that thing since 2012.
Finally.
Yes,
Finally.
see it done. That's when we submitted the proposal to give the state forgiveness to let them do that. Yeah, it's been a fight. And it's not, well, almost. After we went over there yesterday and we went over all that stuff, and I wasn't able to get together. Yep, sure. Anyways, I can't wait till the 26th, right? That we're gonna have the grand opening. And I can't wait. It's been way too long waiting to have that done.
But you get to start it and finish it.
Good job, Maura. Any other subcommittee communications?
Just a little bit on the safety, security. Barbara, I did see the workplace violence prevention plan. And I did know, as you said in the email, yes, it pretty much covers what we've been going through and going after. I'm looking forward to getting our folks back and starting the safety security meetings. we're one of the probably, maybe the only one that has the school board, has a subcommittee that actually actively participates at the school site safety security committee. And a lot of it, I know I bring a lot to the table with it because I used to be safety security out at base. So I'm glad to see that, yes, we have got fairly decent, and we still got a lot of work to do.
And Mr. Vince, if I may, Mr. President, as I mentioned in the email that went out to all of our employees and the board members, that is now posted on the website along with the incident log. Should someone ever need the log and want to submit the log to, it goes to the Director of Human Resources, Mr. Paul Irving. So the form is there right along with the workplace violence plan so that it's convenient for anybody who wants to. Should, hopefully no one would ever need, but should someone need it for whatever reason, the log is there as well. So, and what I liked about the plan, to back up what you were saying, Mr. Vincent, is that it's a cohesive plan that covers not only the district office, but all 6 sites, and the language that will be used in drills. Hopefully they'll always just be drills, but should we ever have a serious incident, everyone on campus should familiarize themselves with the language and understand what their role is and what they should do with the students, with their classrooms, etc. And that's what I liked about having that plan complete.
I fully agree. I do have one suggestion, but we'll talk more about it at the meeting.
Sure.
A little card with those for us who are not in a classroom or whatever. So that way, because something we can refer to, as I said, for the board members, maybe for your folks, as well as it's just an idea we may want to consider. We don't want to misspeak when we walk in either.
Right.
Thank you. Comments from the public?
Yes.
Okay, first up is Carl Nowitzki.
No, Wiki.
Nowitzki, sorry,
It's close enough.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I'm Carl Nowicki. I'm the area director for Charles K-12. I want to speak to you in reference to an email that was sent to the board and superintendent yesterday from our corporate leadership. For the last 2 years, Charles has partnered with the Southern Kern School District for their full service school nutrition program. As your current provider and partner, we feel an obligation to ensure the school board has all the necessary information to make the best decision for the district. A key aspect of this consultant proposal is the significant financial advantage of the offer to the district as Chartwell's. We are offering to provide consulting services for $100,000, significantly lower than Sodexo's fee of $280,000 per year for the same services. Additionally, Chartwell's offers $294,000 in yearly purchasing rebates, more than double the $112,000 offered by Sodexo. Looking at the life of the contract, Chartwell's comprehensive offer saves the Southern Kern community $1.82 million, or $354,000 a year. Please note, both bids are for consulting services only. Despite the clear financial advantage, Chartwell scored only 1 point higher than Sodexo for cost, the heaviest weighted portion of the RFP. We believe an objective comparison of our proposal with Sodexo's offer shows we can provide a better program and benefits to the Southern Kern community, and we request a review of this scoring. Chartwell's responded specifically to the consultant RFP. The RFP did not provide any information on how bids would be scored by the district, but Chartwell's only learned the scoring measures after receiving notice that we had not been selected. This goes against the spirit of fairness and impartiality that is part of the California's open selection process. It's also uncertain how Chartwell's received 3 points fewer than Sodexo for lack of programs and marketing on the scoring notes, which are not included in the food service consulting program outlined in the RFP. So we appreciate your time, taking your time to listen to me and the attention to our request to review the scoring of the solicitation. We would ask that you table the vote to approve the contract for the food service until the completed use.
Thank you. Okay, Mrs. Sandra Lux. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sandra?
Hi, my name is Sandra Lux. I represent Child Nutrition Department here at Southern Kern. I am a food service manager at Tropical Middle School. The last 2 years have been a complete roller coaster, more downs and ups. Orders not being placed, double orders going in, not getting menus on time, not getting our production records on time, sometimes after the month starts. For 2 years, we have pretty much had the exact same menu that was presented at the beginning. And our student count that is eating at my school particularly is less than half. We are supposed to be serving 80% of all students. And like I said, my particular school is less than half. They're tired of getting the same old things, time and time again. Things that were promised when Charlottesville came in, nothing has happened. We barely got all the commercial stuff on the walls and stuff. That barely happened over Christmas break, right in that area this past year. They're already with us a year and a half. We asked for items that the kids specifically asked for. I know for a fact on slushies, and Barbara's very big on the students having their snack bar. And the slushies that we were given, the kids don't like them. They eat it, they drink it, they don't like them. They asked for another company that I personally have checked into and know for facts Charlottesville has a contract with them. But says we can't have that happen. We now are stuck with acai berry. How are you going to get a 12-year-old to drink acai berry? Or the tropical that was there. It tastes like mint. It's actually got mint in it. The kids want the blue raspberry we used to have, the green watermelons we used to have. These are all made with 100% fruit. We can't have it. We were making burritos 3 times a week. Breakfast burritos 3 times a week. Same ingredient. They would have pancakes every week. The kids don't want to eat all that. I'm frustrated. I took the summer off. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you both. Okay, consent items A through B. Does anyone have any questions? And I actually do have a question. For item, okay, so item I for the K9 Solutions for the 2024-2025 contract, $4,800. So that's 10 visits. Is that to, like, it's per site? So if they go to Tropico and they go to the high school, that's 2 visits? No?
Every month they go to all sites.
Okay. So 10 visits. So throughout the whole school year, every month?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much. Any other questions for any other consent items?
I will make a motion that we accept.
Motion by Karen, second by Ben Select. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5 ayes. All right. Next item, review of options and sample resolution for a new bond election. CFW representative.
Should I stand over here and present with that?
You're good.
Right, perfect. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Chris Guerra with CFW. Very pleased to be here tonight. Thank you for inviting me to your meeting. I've had the pleasure of working with your district for over 30 years. And it's wonderful to drive around and see the incredible things that you've been able to do over those years and how you've transformed your facilities. I am over here to present an opportunity for the board's consideration as purely as an informational item tonight regarding potentially continuing the investment in your schools. If directed by your staff, if the board wishes to continue to go down this path, we will come back with at a future meeting with an action item. Today, we're just wanted to provide you some information and get some preliminary direction from you. So, I can turn this on. Alma wanted me to turn that on first. So this is way of background. Your community has always been supportive of the work that you've been doing, supportive of their schools. And you've, in the last 25 years, you've had 3 bond measures. In 2002, Measure H was about a $12 million bond measure. 2008, you passed a $24 million bond measure. And in 2014, about 10 years ago, was the last time you had gone to the community to seek a additional bond measure. And the community approved Measure D, about a $28.4 million bond measure. All of those funds have been used at this time, have been used towards the improvements that you're seeing. But I wanted to point out that it's not only just the local dollars that you've been used, you have done an incredible job of taking those dollars and leveraging dollars back from Sacramento and bringing dollars back from the state to match local dollars and to be able to invest in your schools and make those improvements. So it's my understanding that there are additional needs. The 2014 bond was never intended to take care of every need the district would have into perpetuity, and there are ongoing needs that you do have. Items that you could be looking at is, I know that our elementary schools are overcrowded, and there could be a need for additional elementary school facilities. I know that some of your schools are much newer, but the high school perhaps could use some improvements. There are some needs that the district has identified. And the last time I checked with Mr. Irving, he didn't have an extra $20 or $30 million lying around to be able to take care of those. Yeah. So on that basis, the staff sent us off to say, come back to the board with options and for that consideration. And if they want to proceed, great. And if not, the board is fully informed and they can come back and review this sometime in the future. So to work down that path, one of the first things you did was you went to your community and saw and had a survey completed by a separate firm. I believe in the last meeting and the meeting before, you were presented the results of the survey. The results of the survey were encouraging. What the survey basically said is the folks appreciate the work you're doing. They respect the work you're doing, and they understand that the board, the administration, the teachers, the staff are all doing a great job with the limited resources that you do have. They also did acknowledge that you do have an additional need for facilities, and that a majority, somewhere between, depending on how the question was asked, in the high 50s to somewhere in the 70% range of the folks surveyed said that they would be supported to continue to invest in your facilities. Why that's important is that survey didn't just go out to parents. That survey went out to likely voters, and a majority of the folks who are going to be voting in your election are not parents. They're not directly connected with their schools. Either they don't have kids yet, or their kids have gone into the school system, their grandkids have gone into the school system. So many of them are not directly connected. But some of them, most of them, still wish to continue to invest in your schools. The initial question tested at about a 70% level of support. After negative information was provided, and we all know that everyone's watching their dollars today, that level of support dropped into the mid to high 50s. You would need a 55% vote in order to be able to pass this bond. So the survey is completed, and that information was provided to the board. I'm over here to provide information today. If after this meeting, we were asked to come back with a resolution, we would then bring a resolution back to a future board meeting as an action item, and the step that the step that the board needs to take to actually effect a new bond election is to adopt a resolution calling an election. That must be done by the end of July or early August. That's about the timeline in order for you to be on the November 2024 ballot. There's no requirement for you to be on the November 2024 ballot. You could do a 26 election, 28 election. You could do it in sometime in the future as well. But the election must be done with a regularly scheduled election. So the board could choose delay the election till sometime in the future. If the board does adopt a resolution, you can continue to disseminate factual information about the program. What will it do? How is it going to benefit my school? When is the election date? What is this going to cost me? You can continue to disseminate that kind of information. But the district cannot disseminate any information that advocates the position, either to support, vote yes, or vote no against the bond. You can just disseminate factual information and not encourage voters to vote one way or the other. In order to do that, just as you've done in the past, an independent campaign committee is set up consisting of volunteers from the community. They raise their own funds, and they then in turn can use social media, they can send out mailers, and they can advocate a position and encourage folks to support your measure and to cast their ballots. The county then conducts the election via mail ballots and polling places, and upon a successful election, the bonds are issued. So if the board were to call an election, and if the election were to be successful this November, it's usually about 3 or 4 months before the monies are available, which means that it would put you in early 2025 before you would have access to funds for your construction project. So we've included a sample resolution in your board packet this evening because we wanted the board to have a chance to ask questions and review the basic contents of the resolution before they would possibly consider it in the future. And the resolution is many pages, and most of it is legalese that has to be there by law, that the board doesn't really have much control over what goes in there. But there are 3 components that the board absolutely controls. One is, what is the bond amount? How much are you going to ask the voters to support? Number 2, what is the ballot language? And that is the 75 words that the voters see when they go into the polling booth. There are some legal restrictions around it, but the board decides what that language is and how best to communicate with your community. And number 3, decide on the projects that need to be funded. So I'm going to cover these 3 items as we go along and give you a little bit more background, a little bit more detail. And the ultimate goal is that if the board does wish to continue down this path, to please provide input back to your superintendent so we can incorporate that into our resolution if we are asked to come back in the future with a resolution for consideration. So the first one is the bond amount. And the bond amount is primarily driven by the tax rate. What tax rate per $100,000 are you going to request the voters to support? And I've just given you some examples over here. Under Prop 39, the authority that you will be calling this election, the maximum amount that you can, of projected tax rates is 60, so that's the cap. You can go lower than 60, but you can't go higher than 60. It just works mathematically, and in the 30 years I've been doing it, this is one of the first times that the dollar amount of the tax rate just happens coincidentally to correlate with the millions of dollars that you raise. So a $30 tax rate in your case, based in your district, would generate about $30 million. 40 would be 40, all the way up to 60. So you could determine a bond size anywhere in that range. You could even go lower. You could go with a $10 or $20 tax rate. But in talking with your staff, you probably couldn't do much with your facilities with $10 or $20 million, and the floor that we were asked to bring to you for your consideration was a minimum of $30 million. These tax rates were, someone may ask the question, so why wouldn't I go for the highest amount if I can legally do it? And in your district, that's what you may ultimately choose to do because you do have many needs over the last 10 years. There has been a lot of growth, and you do want to use those dollars to continue to leverage and bring back monies from the state. In your particular survey, when these tax rates were tested, there wasn't a lot of difference in the voter support for a $60 tax rate or a $50 tax rate or a $40 tax rate or a $30 tax rate. Those were some of the, actually there was 2 tax rates that were tested, the 30 and the 60. And there wasn't very much of a difference in those, in the total support. In all cases, there was somewhere in the high 50%, 57, 58% level of support that folks said, if that's what it's going to cost me, then I'm willing to invest in your schools. What did occur though is the intensity of the support at the lower tax rates was higher. So the people who said definitely yes, I will definitely support it, was higher in $30. and the people who said I'll probably support it. When we add those two together, it's about the same. The total level of support, once again, is the high 50s, but the lower tax rates have a much more stronger intensity of support for those. What these means, folks, these dollars of $30 per 100,000, that's the way the law requires us to describe the tax rate. 100,000 of assessed valuation is not the same as market value. In many cases, if people have owned their homes a long time, the assessed valuation is could be substantially lower than the market value because of Prop 13. If someone bought their home for $150,000 20 years ago, based on the ability for the county to only raise the assessed valuation by 2% a year, maybe the assessed valuation is $160,000 now. The market value could be $400,000 or $500,000, but that's not what they're paying their tax basis on. And someone who just bought their house this year, and most likely their assessed valuation and the market value is going to be one and the same, because every time you sell a house, it gets reset to the market value. But this gives you an estimated idea of what the total amount you would generate. And part of what we would be looking for direction from the board is to determine what level you feel comfortable with. It could be, I want to maximize the amount of dollars I can get to do the maximum number of projects, or I wish to scale it back right now, because probably the ability to pass an election could be higher at a slightly lower tax rate, even though there's not a dramatic difference in your particular community, but usually a lower tax rate would get more support than a higher tax rate. The second item that the board would want to control is the language of what the voters would see when they go into the polling booth. This is probably the most important part of the resolution, because many voters are not going to take the diligence to read their entire sample ballot and read information. Many voters make their decision just when they go into the polling booth or when they have their absentee ballot. They read the question, and on that spot they decide, am I going to vote yes or no? The second part of the question, shall Southern Kern Unified School District's measure be adopted? That's all legalese that we really don't have control over. That's written by legal counsel. It's the items above that what we've tried to do is look for what's consistent with what your survey said were a priority for the voters, as well as what are some of the things that you want to do. And that's what we've tried to do and summarize in this 75 words. We've taken a crack at writing it, but once again, the board would weigh in to see if there is different language that they would want to use. I know it sounds clumsy, I know it's like a run-on sounding sentence, but it has to be a single question limited to 75 words. That's the maximum amount of that you can indicate in there. And once again, the second part is mainly legalese. But this would be the second item that we would be seeking input from the board should we come back with a resolution for an action item in the future. The last item that's part of the resolution is the proposed project list. While the prior page is just a summary, it cannot cover within, I know it's 75 words, but literally we only have half of 75 words because the rest is legalese. We can't communicate to the voters everything we intend to do. However, there has to be a project list that the board publishes in the voter pamphlet saying, if the voters approve this bond, these are some of the projects that we could be spending monies on. This project list is quite intensive. It covers many projects. You're probably not going to get through all of this with $60 million. However, if it's not on the project list, you can't do it. So we want to try and keep the project list as broad as possible because the bonds will be issued over many years. Priorities may change over time. And we want to give flexibility to the board in the future to be able to complete some of these projects. We've worked with your staff to try and see as best as we can to try and make it broad enough to capture all your priorities. It absolutely does permit the construction of additional classrooms. It does permit the construction of a new school. And those are items that we can cover. So my last slide is possible next steps going forward is if the board wishes to continue to pursue or review the opportunity to conduct an election. We would take comments that you provide to your staff, incorporate them into a resolution, and bring it back to your July board meeting for possible action at that meeting. If the board does vote to call an election, a campaign committee gets formed. The county conducts the election. And I'm only joking, partially joking, when I say that most people think the presidential election is on November 5th of this year. This year, it's actually in October. And the reason I'm saying that is because a majority of your community votes by mail. Most of them are gonna cast their ballots by the end of October. So the campaign committee, in the old days, we would focus the efforts on election day and we would peak on election day. Today, most of the campaign efforts are actually during the second part of October, because that's when the majority of your ballots will actually be cast and the outcome of the election is likely to be decided. And then, as I mentioned, upon a successful election, we can issue bonds, and the bonds will be issued in series, just like they have in the past. You won't get all $60 million up front. The board controls how much you sell up front, how much you expect that you can spend. There are certain spend down requirements. That's not, the resolution doesn't say how many series of bonds or when you're gonna sell them. The resolution says, how much are you going to sell? What will you spend the monies on? And what is the specific question that you want voters to vote on? Those are the three items. So I know this is a lot of information, and I'm happy to answer any questions, but other than for that, we'll be standing by for direction from your staff, for any input on amendments that you may need, and if potentially you want us to come back at a future date. So happy to answer any questions.
I don't know if it's a question for you, Kush, but like you said, you know, we could ask for 30 or 60, like how do we find that happy medium as to like what we could be potentially using it for, like is 40 enough? Is 30 enough? Like how do we figure that out? I guess maybe that's a question for you, Robert, I'm not sure.
To be honest, I'm not sure either. As somebody who doesn't live in the community, I'm not gonna pretend I have the pulse of what people, you know, are willing to pay for their, you know, property tax here.
Well, I can tell you, because I have been on all three of those bonds that we did. Honestly, I would go for the 60 because you don't sell all 60 at once. You sell what you need to do a project, get the project finished. If you need to get some more stuff done, you have that money, like it's almost like having a savings account, and then you sell it as you need it. And depending on the market value, when you sell it, the actual interest that you're gonna have to pay during that time. Like we have resold bonds that we had sold already to get a better interest rate on them. We've done it twice, I think.
Yes, sir.
And we're able to save the community about $10 per 100,000 after selling the bond. So there's a lot of factors that are involved in it. So honestly, I go for the full 60, and you sell what you need when you need it. I mean, I'd rather sell it, or I should say, ask for all of it, and because we've already, I mean, when we got the first one, we used that up so fast, getting the West Park was the first one we ran, so we get West Park done. The second one, we built the gymnasium at Tropico and did some improvements with that. And I'm trying to remember, there was another project that we did along with that. And then the last one we ran was to be able to build the Roseman Elementary.
If I may add to that, Ms. Hepburn, I agree absolutely with Mr. Gutierrez. I think especially since the community, they aren't tax, they trust you with the money and they aren't that tax rate sensitive. it may be best to ask for enough to get the job done. To specifically answer your question, while we don't have a detailed plan, we've been having some discussions with your staff and as to what the costs may be and whether even if the board were to go with the maximum amount, would there be projects that could be identified or are identified to do that? If a new school is constructed, unfortunately, school construction today is a lot more expensive than it was 10 or 12 years ago. A good chunk, a majority of the dollars would probably be subsumed by constructing a new school, somewhere in the $35 million to $40 million range. The improvements at the high school and some of the remaining projects, it appears that there would be clearly a need and possibly even more should the district have it. The typical process would be to identify what the projects are. The voters want to know, what are you going to do with the money? And we do have to have projects identified. But specifically, the sequencing and the prioritization of projects and so on and so forth occur typically after the bond measure is successful. And that's when the board makes a decision. I want project X first, project Y second, and so on and so forth. And part of what this district has been very successful in doing is you identify where there's an opportunity to bring money back from Sacramento, and you often prioritize those projects first, because if I can get $1 back for every dollar I generate locally, let me deal with those projects first to capture as many dollars back as I can. So perhaps that answers your question, ma'am?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
I'm gonna add a little bit to it. I was on the board the first time, Mario, when we passed the one for Westmark. And I'm gonna tell, when we had a election forum for the election, we got asked, everybody on that, asked, would we are we gonna go for a bond? Okay, and so forth. My answer was, if the ducks are in a row, I would support a bond. Well, the thing came back is, Vincent says the ducks are in a row, we need the bond, and we got it. That's part of it. But people out there are going to be a little dicey with it, but I'm hoping with what we have up here at this dais, people are gonna trust that we're gonna do the job. They should, because we've already proven we can do that job. So, go for it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item. Approval of award of contract to Skusd for food service consulting and purchasing company for the 2024-2025 school year RFP 23-24-1301 in the amount of $1,329,050. Mr. Urban.
Alrighty, our recommendation to the board that they approve this contract. We've had services for Chartwell's, we've had services for Skusd, and I think it's better move moving forward.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Tara, second by Vincent. Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next, board goals for the 2024-2025 school year. Ms. Gates.
Yes, board members, this is on there as informational this evening on July 16th at our next board meeting. We placed it on there this evening to give the board members some time to sort of ruminate and think with everything going on, what you would like to see myself and my cabinet team focus on for the 24-25 school year. And so on July 16th, in open session, I will be asking for those goals and moves that you'd like to see us make. Please think about it, and
July 16th.
July 16th.
I forgot that. All right. Okay, item D, discuss banning student cell phone use on campus. That's me. Hey guys. So, yeah, it's a discussion. So, obviously, I don't know if it is obvious to you, but cell phones are a huge distraction. These kids are starting stuff on their phones. By that, I mean, we see a lot of expulsions, and a root of the cause is cell phones, it's social media, it's recording things, it's carrying on in school. Kids are distracted, they're not engaging with each other, and we need to discuss if they should be allowed to use their phones in school, and how we should kind of go about that. Yeah, so floor's open for discussion.
I am going to add to that. I do substitute at ABU High School District, and I've had a lot of issues in the classroom with students in the cell phone. At one time, I had to call the security to come in because the two young ladies were not just ignoring me, they just went off into a little corner where I couldn't see them. And there they were doing is they were on their cell phone, they were plugging it in and did this. I have actually had to, there's very little discipline we can do because they did get removed from the classroom for about 10 minutes by security, and next thing you know, they're right back in because all they did was talk to them. So, yes, I would agree with Sunny, we need to do that. I just saw an item from Los Angeles school board has approved to ban cell phones on all campuses, saying that devices distract students from learning, and it does. Leads to anxiety, allows cyberbullying. We've even seen it not only in this district but in the other district. We've got to address it. A lot of places are going to do that. There is. I just also read in another article, the state of California is driving towards passing a law to allow us to do that. I think what we need to do is write a policy. We've got a couple of sample policies, but they don't talk about cell phones directly. So I would like to suggest that the policy committee, policy committee puts together, and because it does have to have 3 readings and open to discussion from everybody that's going down. Now, we know there's going to be pushback, and that's to be expected. But the one department that I thought I would see a lot of pushback from, it never came. I did ask. Did I not, Cheryl?
You did.
So no pushback from the special ed side of the house, so we can definitely start looking at it.
I think it is important, and like I'm a parent, I have a child, I have kids at multiple campuses, and as a parent, like my concern is like, oh, well, I need to get hold of my child, like what if this, or what if they need me? And I think we need to put into place certain situations, like, hey, if you need to use your phone, you need to go to the office or talk to your teacher, or gain access. You need to figure out how we'll lock away the phones and figure that situation out. But back in my day, we didn't have cell phones. I went to the office to call my mom when there was a situation. We have phones on campus.
Still cell phone.
Right? We and the kids rely on the phones and are addicted to the phones because everything's in their hand, like so many different tools they have in their hand, and they need to be focused. They need to focus on what's going on in school with their teachers, and the phone is a huge distraction. So it needs to happen. So I'm on board with coming up with a policy and figuring out what will work best for our community and our students here, so they can actually be engaged and be high school kids and not have drama and stress and all kinds of things on the phones during school.
I was gonna add that I went to a legal conference this year, just in the last couple months. And they're part of it, in one of the sessions, they talked a lot about cell phone use, and that they're actually looking at making technology addiction an actual thing in the DSM. because they said that a lot of youth are addicted to their phones. And they said in the sense that if you think about it as an adult, when you go on your phone and you research something, for the next month, you're getting bombarded with that. Because there's actually people that work for service providers who, that's what they do. They watch what you're looking for and they bombard you with that.
Yeah.
So when babies are being given cell phones, little kids are getting cell phones, when they're to be distracted, or if they're having a tantrum or whatever, they put on a game, they start getting bombarded with games. Same thing with kids in school. When they're looking at games or they're looking at possibly inappropriate websites or something, once they look at that, they start getting bombarded with that, and it makes them desire it more. It actually makes your dopamine explode, which makes you want more and more and more of it. So they're saying that it is truly, it functions like an addiction in your body. And they said that some schools have banned cell phones and that their assessment scores went significantly up because it caused students to pay more attention to what they're supposed to be paying attention to, opposed to having to constantly look at their phone. Yeah, even when they're putting it away, yes, they might be hiding it, that's whatever, but a lot of kids, they just can't control it.
Yeah.
So.
And with the advent of AI coming down, both of us are probably, as our technologists, especially instructional technology, we see some danger with that with cell phones. And I'm basically going to tell you, it's going to allow to cheat. And there's a lot of things that it's good for you. Yeah, it allows to cheat. Well, some of them do, but it's going to get worse. And you're not going to know what is real and what is not. When electronic imaging, like photo photography first came out, it became a serious issue with judges who finally said, we're not accepting any electronic, because people were going in and dealing with that by making changes, like erasing a stop sign that's there and so forth. So they just wouldn't accept it anymore. But the National Standards Institute, which I represented the Army on, we came up with a watermark. And I just learned the other day that there are several companies out there that are looking at to be able to help identify what is real and what is not with AI. So it's being looked at, but we also need to have Brandon and I have talked about it briefly. We haven't talked about it in detail. We may ask to have a subcommittee for AI, just strictly for AI. Okay.
One thing I would mention about regarding the cell phones, not to just pile on, but I have had teachers approach me and ask me to take action on this, to help them in the classroom, help them manage the classroom. I've also heard, some negative things from parents and other people. I'm a parent as well in this district. So it is definitely something to consider, but when you look at things like academic achievement, there's been studies, this is shown that it's a detriment to our children, not only their social emotional well-being, but academic achievement, like I just said. And then there's an interesting study, because this is a lot of anxiety. Oh my gosh, they might take my phone. There was a recent study, you could look it up, that showed that teenagers were asked, what happened if you got your phone taken away? The end of the world. Well, what happened if everyone got their phone taken away? They actually were mostly okay with it in the majority, because it's keeping up with the Joneses. It's like everybody else has it. I don't want to be the one without it. So I don't, I know there are some different discussions with regards to the AI and stuff, what's coming, we can look into that. But currently, there are applications on your phone, specifically for mathematics, where you can point it, you don't even have to take a picture, point it, and it solves it, gives you the answer immediately at the question. So these are things that are already being used, and I just don't really see, I see some benefits of having them for communication with families and things like that, but I also see that as a distraction as well. taking away from instructional minutes. So it's definitely something to discuss.
Just for, what do you guys think?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I believe cell phones should not be with children, period. They've completely lost, imagination. They use the phone to think for them. They don't think for themselves. And this is our future. So I don't want AI running my country because that's all these students know.
Yes.
So I think, and I support the banning of cell phones in classrooms, but I think the only pushback from the parents you'll get is their concern for safety. And I think maybe the best way to probably go around that is if the teacher had like a box where all the cell phones went in at the start of class and they stayed there until the end.
Let's about that up. We have a device here that will lock your cell phone away. I'm on the next item. Oh,
Hey.
so, we'll down. You got another-
But with regards to that, if I could make a comment, because my daughter brings her cell phone to school. She's a senior next year. When their lockdowns have occurred, what's going on, you know, she doesn't know what's going on. I'm outside, I say, oh, I see this and that. I understand that same sentiment. So that's definitely something that I see as well, but, do the benefits outweigh the cons? And then also our safety plans that we've already passed for our school sites require we lock the doors and turn out the lights. We don't want to see a bunch of little lights in the rooms that are locked and closed because there they are. So that's potentially an additional safety concern if we do give them the phones during that period.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, with the safety concern, we all as parents have our phones as well. I mean, we get notifications before things even happen. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that if their phones are locked away somehow, as quickly as this stuff happens and information gets spread around, we're gonna find out that something's going on.
Yeah, and we're working on those things as well as part of the safety. But here's another thing too, and this will come down to, it doesn't matter if you get a phone call. Once the police set up a parameter, you're going nowhere. You're not gonna be able to get in. The kids are not gonna get out until the issue is solved. Yes, there are concerns with that, and we understand that. And, I mean, when I was out at the base, I got caught in the middle of lockdowns and, you know, and so forth. And I'm looking down an M16, okay, because I wasn't supposed to be out. So the point that I'm making is, I know about it. We know about it, we know we're trying to address it. And it's not gonna be something easy. One of the things that we're looking at is how we can get a notification to the parent quickly. So.
Yeah. We all, word of mouth, I mean, you, Facebook out here is.
And
The town crier is Facebook, right?
I saw something from word of mouth with it, and it goes all the way around the room. It'll not be the same thing that I said right there, so you can see why.
I've been seeing on posts online on Facebook before, when my kid said that there was somebody with a gun, that's not remotely what happened.
Yeah.
Well, the truth of the matter is during those periods of time, that's a significant emotional event and we want to be able to contact our children. But do we trade that for them not achieving academically or having social emotional issues, bullying, cyberbullying, et cetera, that's a difficult decision. And LAUSD made that decision. Gavin Newsom is making a proposal statewide. Don't know if that will pass. I've heard recently that the New York school district is looking at it now because LA did it. So it's people are waking up to the dangers of cell phone in children's hands, especially at the schools. So it's definitely weighing up the pros and
Just
cons.
to speak on it, I would like to say I'm on the fence about it. As a parent, I think I feel more comfortable having my son or daughter having something that I can get hold of. Because if not, I have to depend on the school to get that information to me. Where I can directly, this is what's going on, are you okay? As a parent, as, you know, an educator's standpoint, I understand. But I think there has to be, like some enforcement. There has to, at the beginning of the school year, it has to be, okay, this is what's gonna happen. No phones out during this. You know, you can have 5 minutes towards the end of class, you can use your phone, but when it's instruction, we're gonna have that put away. I know teachers have in the past been like, go ahead, take a picture, you can take notes, you can take a picture of the notes, whatever. But I think before completely banning, we need to have some type of survey, in the community, not just parents, but students as well, to see.
You know
You
it's
know
good
what
for
that.
We already know. And there's.
Don't take our phones. To share something. Fortunately for Southern Kern, we've not had any incidents of, every enactment that we've had at all of our sites have been drills. I can tell you that after a drill is completed, all of the site principals, think about it, those of you who have kids at different sites will get that message. Parents, this was a drill. We were out 5-10 minutes, whatever it was. We were in a lockdown, or maybe sometimes it's out of our control. Perhaps the sheriff, there might be something that happens at a dollar store, and just out of precaution, the sheriff will say, throw the high school into a lockdown. And so kids are in lockdown, and then they're like wondering why we're in a lockdown, but you know, we really can't convey that to them. The minute the sheriff enables us to release that lockdown, messages go out to parents. Parents, we had a lockdown today. There was no immediate threat to your children, but it was a drill, or the sheriff put us in a lockdown as a safety precaution, whatever. So, I mean, we have not had a real reason for to go into a lockdown where we have have to stay for a long period of time yet. But I think the academic focus outweighs the parents being able to get a hold of their child, because should an incident ever occur, the minute that sheriff gets on our campus, it becomes out of our hands, and it's in the hands of the sheriff's department that they're not probably going to release children until it is absolutely safe to let kids get out of the classrooms and go to the evacuation center, where it would become a safe place for parents then to come and retrieve their children. So to me, the minutes of instruction that the kids lose by being on those phones all the time, sometimes posting inappropriate things about each other on the websites. I don't know how many times I've had to deal with that. And then we have to try to spend weeks trying to track down who posted it, who sent it on, who did this, who did. It's, to me, they're nothing but a nuisance for a school district. Nothing but a nuisance.
There's another good thing about it. Have you ever sat down and watched two friends sit there and they're texting each other and they're right next door to each other? You get rid of the cell phone, what are they gonna do? They're gonna talk.
I know a couple.
Yeah, well, no, I know a lot of kids that do that.
Yeah.
But the point is that we've gotten away from the communications, and I personally try not to call somebody, text somebody, email somebody when I can walk into their office and sit down and say, we need to talk. The reason is because I learned that over the years, because I can see what's going on. Okay?
Okay, thanks, Bob. Item E, discuss yonder pouch. Mr. Boyd.
So last year, at the beginning of the school year, we discussed potentially doing something like this at alternative education. So Rare Earth specifically. Rare Earth, they use computers for their instruction, so they get digital content given to them, and the phones were a major distraction there. Plus, being the alternative site, there's a lot of other issues that cell phones bring to that site. So we've looked at this. This is the Yonder pouch. They're at concerts, they're at comedy shows, they're at schools. This is not a new thing. And all it is a magnet base and a really strong rare earth magnet. Push it in there, pops it open. You put the phone in. This would be done by the security guard at Rare Earth because they want the students into your pockets. Oh, there's a cell phone, put it in the bag. The kids would get this, they would carry it with them. So we would never have custody of their phone. And you can look at this if you like. Here, go ahead. It's magnet. It's a really, really strong magnet. And unless you break it, it's not coming apart. You're not opening it. So I'll just pass this down. And then this just simply unlocks it. So that's a potential option. On our previous discussion, when we talked about banning the cell phones, I don't know that this would be appropriate alternative in this. I don't know that we would implement, I would advocate to implement this because if you consider the high school, when the buses unload, hundreds of kids, you're gonna have people trying to catch kids and put it in there. And if they miss them and a teacher asks them, do you have a phone? Oh, you don't have anything, right? So it needs to be caught at the gate.
I would think that would be real good for the office for we would have
Yep.
and then catch kids first like period on the instead of complicated. You say, okay, get the phone, go to the office, put it in the pouch, give it back to them. Now you can open that at the end of school when school's over, you can go by the office and have that.
So these are potential options. And if we don't do the outright ban, this is a potential option. And we could even implement these at our alternative suspension sites at the high school and the middle school as well, or anywhere else we would like to. The pouches themselves are not very expensive to the district. These are about $100, but these are, you just need a few of these to unlock them and lock them. And that's that.
You know how much the pouch,
The pouch is about $30 a piece, depending on how many you get involved with or whatnot. It's really not extreme.
I think, Mr. Coy, you said something very, very important. Other than rare earth, I don't see how Tropico or the high school could ever be able to do this. We could not. We might get 2 out of 5 kids walking in the gate.
But for the kid that gets caught with a cell phone,
It's a deterrent.
now their phone's locked up, they still have possession of it, so we're not responsible for it. And they can't get their cell phone out unless they bring this up to the office at the end of the day to get it unlocked. I like the pouch only as the.
Oh, so you're saying if we were to ban it, they would expect it not to bring it at all, but if we caught them, we put it in that.
Yeah, we're like, hey, don't use your phone, put it away, and it's like,
That's a good idea.
Timmy's on his phone, like, oh, Timmy.
Disciplinary tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also too, I think, Cheryl, did you mention that New York, if somebody actually opened one of those, they were brought up for discipline?
I visited a school in South Bronx, and they use Yonder bags. They said in the beginning, some kids cut them open. You can cut them open with scissors if you cut it in the right spot. But if that happened, then the students had to turn their phones in the office when they walked in the door. They weren't allowed to carry them. And the administration, the administration then decided when they were allowed to get the Yonder bag again. But until they deserved it back, they had to turn their phone in at in the front office every morning. And they said that kind of cut back on kids doing it. And when I was visiting there, yeah, there were no kids with Yonder bags or with their phones out. All their bags were in their backpacks. I talked to some students about it, how they felt about it. They said in the beginning they hated it. They got used to it, and they preferred being able to carry it with them as opposed to having to leave it in a lockbox somewhere.
Yeah, and that absolves us from having to, someone took my phone or the teacher broke it or whatever. The other thing is, the kids that would break into this, I mean, who would they text because everyone else is locked? You'd have to, you know, it wouldn't be that interesting. I'll just show you how it unlocks. It's really simple. We all touched it, so then you just touch this, and that's it. And now the phone's up. So it's pretty quick, pretty easy, but it's just an option, and I like what you were saying as well. Culture. Yes.
So my concern with that is you got 30 kids, they're all riding the same bus. Who's missing their bus? Wait, because I'm not. That is.
Well, they shouldn't have brought their phone in the first place.
Well,
I hear what you're
it is
saying.
a concern because we do have a lot of kids that live way out yonder. They couldn't afford to miss the bus because mom or grandma or whoever they're living with is in the valley working, not off till 5, they getting home to 7:30. You got a kid walking the streets.
Right, and as Ms. Gaines pointed out, it's not like we have the staff that a concert has that can run hundreds of people through these things. So that's why initially we looked at a small site like Rare Earth, 50 kids or however many. But this is definitely an option, but I see exactly what you're saying. And that's why personally, I actually don't think these would be good district-wide. Maybe in some cases like you mentioned, Mario, or in some specific sites. But if we did decide to just do the ban outright, then we probably wouldn't use these like at Rare Earth. We would just have a ban, and then maybe if they get caught or something. So those are all.
Yeah, we have to like obviously weigh all the options and like you said, Adrian, a survey as well. To figure out how we can actually implement this and enforce it and what might work best for each site. I mean, not obviously, but like, I don't feel like cell phones are quite the issue in the elementary level. Like some of them have phones, but it's not as serious until it gets to middle school when they get on social media, when they're starting to do other things on the phone. So it's a big decision. We're not making any decisions right now, but we'll be figuring something out.
Another way that we can find, catch the cell phones going through, something I've talked about for a while, safety security, is the portable metal detectors. They're gonna set them off. So then we're gonna know if the student has got it on them and whatever, and then we need to address that in that kind of manner as well. Yeah, the pouch would probably be the correct way.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. All right, next item. Discussion to revise the biannual review of the BB 9270 conflict of interest code. Ms. Gaines.
Okay, board members, if you'll turn to page 177, this is, bylaw covers the Form 700 and conflict of interest code. If you attended the ethics training recently, conflict of interest was discussed. We're not saying that we need to make any changes to this, but review this, look it over, and if you see that there may be something that you would like to, that we need to. 177, well, actually, yeah, 178 is where it starts. We can certainly make some changes to our conflict of interest bylaw, but we don't have to.
So look it over, and if there's anything that you look a little hinky, we'll bring it back.
Yes.
Okay.
You all fill it out every year. Form 700 as a board member is pretty common thing.
Let's review the revised. Okay. And then curriculum and instruction, Title I, Part A, School Parent and Family Engagement Policy, 2023.
Yes. Yes, on behalf of Dr. Mendez, page 184, this is an action item. This is the 2023 to current parent and family engagement policy. We believe that it is good to go for your approval tonight, and this is an action item.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion by Gutierrez, second by Vince Lit. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Five ayes. All right, next item, English Learner Master Plan 2023 to current.
Page 189, board members. Probably already have seen this. Southern Turner Unified School District Master Plan for English Learners. This is an extensive, comprehensive plan, meeting the state requirements in how we educate our English learners. This is ready for you to take action on as well.
I will make a motion.
Motion by Gutierrez, second by Vince Lit. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right, approved ethnic study course, was previously approved by the board on April 10th, 2024.
Yes, ma'am.
And this has to be, the reason you're seeing this again, board, is that it has to be brought back for a second time in case there's anyone who would like to make a comment on our ethnic studies course. It's just, you need to recess into a public hearing, and then if not, then you can approve again.
Do I have to make a motion for recess?
I will make a motion.
So I'm almost done with the book. I've got like 40 more pages. And boy, oh boy.
Yeah, good.
It's very interesting. It's just to learn about like how, you know, all these people migrated over and the dramatics and the trauma.
Yeah.
But it's very informative, and you know, if you don't learn from the past, you gotta know.
It's 8:34.
I'm so sorry, 8:34. I just want to get in there, you know? Any comments from the public? What book is this? For the course? It is called Ethnic Studies. Ethnic Studies for Kids. No, it's not exactly that, but hang on, I have the title right here. It is called A Different Mirror for Young People, A History of Multicultural America by Ronald Takaki. And it's really good, it's a really good read.
It's a good read.
It's
Everybody should read it.
it's a lot, and it's like, wow.
And you might say, we're introducing ethnic studies this year to our incoming freshmen. It's a one semester course by, I believe, 2028, Mario, correct me if I'm wrong. All students in high school will have to have completed that. So thanks to Dr. Mendez, and he had a really phenomenal committee, including Mr. Gutierrez and other parents, and we are a little bit ahead of the game, and we like to be ahead of the game, but they like that book, and there are other districts in Kern that are also stepping out this year with a pilot program. We're not piloting it, we're introducing it to all freshmen. One semester of ethnic studies, and then they'll rotate that with one semester of health. So someone may have health first semester and ethnic studies second, or vice versa, for all incoming freshmen.
And this is, being on, I gotta be okay. And it's been being that I did come to this country as an immigrant. And I wanted to make sure that it wasn't a very biased type of, because you hear a lot of stuff about, you know, there's different things that are very biased. And after we did a lot of research on stuff. We put together a program that will be, I think, very helpful for kids who are not only new to the country, but have a diverse background. And so they can see that it's, you don't have to be in the shell. And that's the big problem that people would like to be in the shell. So, yeah, I'm gonna stay in my little bubble here. It's like, no, everybody's gotta be out there.
So
And
you can
that's
be
what-
protected, but you gotta.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that we wanted the program to do, to show everybody that, hey, this is This is who you are, and this is where you can go. This is what I can put in there. It's like, this is life.
This is how this country was
That's how it's
created.
created.
This is why, you know, it's diverse. Like, you don't want to admit it, it's diverse. It's very diverse. People come in from all over the place and, you know, stuff happens.
Yeah, but then people unfortunately learn things that they shouldn't.
Any more public comments?
We go back into.
All right, this is Jennifer Solana. And second by Terrence 838. Terrence, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 838. Okay, do we have to vote on that? No? Just open.
Yes, no, sorry, do you vote on it? I forgot to add the little box on the bottom.
Okay,
But yeah,
so to approve, the ethnic studies course, do I hear a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Terrence,
Moved by Benzolet.
Benzolet, and Gutierrez, got it. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Business and operations, informational, California School Dashboard, local performance indicators. This is for my partner.
Hi, I'm going to give a presentation about the California School Dashboard Local Performance Indicators. So the dashboard is like a report card. It shows how schools and districts are doing. It provides important information on different metrics, letting people know how their schools, their districts are doing, and if things are getting better or if they're getting worse. The local indicators, those are for LCFF priorities, where the state does not collect quantitative data. In this case, the district collects its own data and does a self-assessment and publishes its write-up to the dashboard. So we talked about the dashboard at the last meeting. So the top 7 metrics, those are provided by the state. The state has quantitative data about chronic absenteeism and suspension rate. So the state publishes those on our dashboard. But the bottom 5, those are the local performance indicators. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. For these, we do our own data collection and our own self-assessment, and we publish these to the dashboard. So LCFF priority 1 is basics. Priority 2 is implementation of academic standards. Priority 3 is parent and family engagement. Priority 4 is local climate survey, and priority 5 is access to a broad course of study, or priority 7, excuse me. So I'm going to talk about each dashboard local performance indicator. I didn't do this myself. It was done in collaboration with the cabinet. So the cabinet did some of the self-assessments, and the LCAP committee did some of the self-assessments. Priority 1 basics, that covers teachers, instructional materials, and facilities. So this comes from our SARC, looking at data from the 2022-23 school year. We had a total teaching FTE of about 165 teachers. We had 12 and a half teacher misassignments for a misassignment percentage of 7.6%. We had no instances of students who did not have access to the curriculum, both at home and at school. We had no instances where the facilities did not meet the good repair standard. Priority 2, implementation of academic standards. So this is our self-assessment. It's going to be the same 5-point rubric for all of our self-assessments. So 1 is exploration and research phase, 2 is beginning development, 3 is initial implementation, 4 is full implementation, and 5 is full implementation and sustainability. So we're going to rate the district's progress in providing professional learning for teaching to the recently adopted academic standards. So we gave ourselves a 3, initial implementation on everything except for ELD, which got a 4. So we were pretty conservative with this grade. I believe we had a discussion of whether it should be a 3 or a 4. Looking at it, I think we could have given ourselves some 4s. But we have extensive professional development. For ELA, we have an ongoing support contract with KCSOS, which provides ongoing professional development. We have Dr. Becky Wetzel, who provides ongoing professional development. So for ELD, So that gets us to a 3 across the board. And for ELD, we give ourselves a 4 because we have a half day of professional development prior to the start of the school year, as well as ongoing professional development for all of our ELD teachers. Okay, rate the district's progress in making instructional materials. Some of these are kind of run-on sentences. In making instructional materials that are aligned to the recently adopted academic standards. So this is, do we have modern curriculum that aligns to the academic standards? And the answer is yes, we do. With the exception of K through 5 ELA and math, where we're waiting for the state to publish its adopted curriculum list, we have new curriculum for all of our subjects. So for ELA, we've adopted new curriculum for 6 through 12. ELD, we've adopted new curriculum. Math, we have new curriculum for 6 through 12. Science, we have a new curriculum for K through 12. And history, social science, we have new curriculum for K through 12. And all of that aligns to the content standards. Okay, rate the district's progress in implementing each of the following academic standards. So these are other adopted content standards. For CTE, we gave ourselves a 5. We have 12 CTE pathways with both concentrator and capstone courses. Health education, we gave ourselves a 3. We have a health class at the high school level that's going to be taught back to back with the ethnic studies class. So they'll take a semester of health and a semester of ethnic studies at the 9th grade. For PE, we have a credentialed PE teacher. We have credentialed PE teachers who teach all of the PE classes, grades K through 12. Visual and performing arts, we have a visual arts teacher at the middle school and a visual arts teacher at the high school, as well as a performing arts teacher at the high school. And world language, we gave ourselves a 3 because we only have Spanish. But have we hired a Chinese instructor? Mandarin. So that'll be hopefully we'll be able to give ourselves a 4 next year. Okay, priority 3, parent and family engagement. Building relationships between school staff and families, building partnerships for student outcomes, and seeking input for decision making. Okay, this rubric is for building relationships. We give ourselves a 3 across the board, except for a 2 on this category. So we give ourselves a 3 for rate the district's progress in creating welcoming environments for all families in the community. We give ourselves a 3 for rate the district's progress in developing multiple opportunities for the district and school sites to engage in two-way communication between families and educators. So that's the Parent Square platform, where administrators and teachers send posts and messages to the families. Parents can reply, which is two-way communication, and all communication is done in the recipient's home language. Okay, this is our California School Parent Survey. This goes in conjunction with the California Healthy Kids Survey. We give both of these out in the fall. So this is from the fall of 2023. I also included the fall of 22 results. Basically, there's not much change from 2022 to 2023. This shows engagement, parent engagement with the school community. And as you can see, we're right around about the 79% rate for engagement with the school community. We're a little bit lower in, do you agree that the school promptly responds to your phone calls, messages, or emails? So that's an area for improvement. Okay. Briefly describe the district's current strengths and progress in building partnerships for student outcomes. So every student in grades 4 through 12 are issued a Chromebook that they're able to take home. This is a partnership between the school and the homes and the families, where the school and the family support student education at home by virtue of using a Chromebook, which gives access to the digital curriculum and the supplemental learning resources. We have the ARES Parent Portal that parents can log into and see the students' assignments and grades. We have the Parent Square Communications Platform, which keeps families informed of what's going on at school. And we have academic counselors who partner with families to provide support for students, including college counseling. So what are the district's strengths and progress in seeking input for decision making? So we have a lot of forums, a lot of structures in place that enable families and parents to participate in decision making at the district level and at the school level. We have the school site council meetings, where the school site council members work with the school site administrators to develop the school plans for student achievement. We have the LCAP committee, which has parents on it, and that's instrumental in shaping the LCAP. We have regular DLAC meetings, We have regular district advisory council meetings, and we have numerous surveys in English and Spanish that collect feedback from the community that we use to inform our LCAP and shape our programs. Okay, areas for improvement. On that same school parent survey, we had a question. School actively seeks the input of parents before making important decisions. Only 53% of parents agreed or strongly agreed. On the same survey, only 10% of parents indicated that they had served on a school committee. This is an area for needed growth. Priority 6, school climate. So during the fall of every school year, we give the California Healthy Kids Survey to students in grades 7, 9, and 11. We had about 74% of those students who took the survey and completed the survey. Just to summarize some key findings from the survey, 44% of 7th grade students don't eat breakfast, 58% of 9th grade students don't eat breakfast, and 59% of 11th grade students do not eat breakfast, as indicated by their responses on the survey. So with over half of our students not eating breakfast, including 58% of high school students, this is a significant issue, as breakfast consumption was positively correlated with academic achievement of students.
Was that because they chose not to eat breakfast, or?
Yes, it's provided. There's free breakfast provided at all sites, right?
Yes, in all sites.
Yes.
Okay, this is an issue that we've talked about a little bit already at the meeting, cyberbullying. So this is another area of concern. 49% of 7th grade students have been a victim of cyberbullying over the past year. 25% of 9th and 11th graders have experienced cyberbullying. This demonstrates cyberbullying is a significant issue, especially at the middle school level. Okay, last but not least, priority 7, access to a broad course of study. For grades K through 5, all of our students have access to Common Core curriculum for math and ELA. We have supplemental programs to support the curriculum, including a reading intervention program. Students are enrolled in social studies classes that follow the California History Social Science Framework. All students study science, and the district has implemented the NGSS standards. Students in grades K through 5 have 100 minutes of PE instruction per week, led by a certified PE teacher. There are no differences across school sites or student groups, and students with disabilities are engaged in the same curriculum as the Gen Ed students. And finally, access to a broad course of study for grades 6 through 12. Students at the high school have access to a full course of study, including 12 CTE pathways. Students at TMS have access to a full course of study, including 3 full-time PE teachers, Spanish, art, and band. Students with disabilities take the same curriculum as the Gen Ed students, and students at Rare Earth and Abraham Lincoln take their core curriculum and elective classes online using Acellus courseware. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, that concludes my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, one of the slides actually was really good. And it's so.
Yeah, the bullying. I saw that.
Is that recall?
Okay, district,
Mr. Wexler, for being so thorough. I love your presentation.
Thank you very much. I very much appreciate that.
don't worry, you'll be back. District local control and accountability
Not-
and LCAP.
not until-
Mr. Vice President.
Oh, okay. Well, when you said I'll be back, you weren't kidding.
Nope.
I was hoping.
Back twice.
Okay, we submitted the LCAP to the county. Our management analyst came back with recommended revisions. Good news is there were no substantive revisions whatsoever. No changes to the budget, no changes to any actions. He just wanted me to beef up some verbiage in the increased or improved services section, which is just a write-up justifying the actions. So I recommend that we accept the LCAP as written. I will make the revisions, but there are no substantive changes.
Thank you. Okay, motion to adopt this LCAP. Motion by Terra, second by Ms. Lett. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Ms. Wexler.
My pleasure.
Okay, district budget for the 2024-2025 school year, Mr. Irving.
Great, so everybody remembers exactly what I said about frontline media last time, right? Sure. You are all taking notes?
Yes.
I forgot to tell you, there's a pop quiz. No, it is, the legislature and the governor, and between now and then have come to an agreement on a budget for the state, which is helpful for me because I have to base our budget off of theirs.
But they haven't passed yet.
They haven't passed it, but they at least have the agreement, so, you know. It's baby steps. Usually, the way the state passes a budget is they have a budget passed, so that what programs are being funded and how much, you know, the little things. So, yeah. So overall, coming into the end of this year, into the start of next year, knowing that, I've said it, I think ad nauseum, that the state, you know, massive revenue shortfall, and how does that impact, you know, K-12? Fortunately for us, not a ton negatively. It's not great, but compared to the other half of the state budget, education is, you know, fared okay-ish. So base grant, so what is our regular generic funding for the state, as well as our S&C, so our supplemental and concentration dollars that are in the LCAP, so as well as our EPA revenues for the educational protection account, which is a funding source specifically for teacher salaries, where it's a little bit of a seesaw of some of it's in the states or unrestricted side, some of it's EPA, and then where does the LCAP total come out of? So for this upcoming year, we're working towards putting Paxton Patterson Lab and robotics both at elementary schools, so that there's opportunities outside of the traditional ACES program that we've had for years. Then, a few other enrichments such as, the ballroom or drama for West Park and, chess and other things that, the district has done historically as, okay, yes, there's a stipend position, but it's not an everyday occurrence per se. Where this coming out of COVID is a way to increase student engagement and reconnect students back with their school and campus of, okay, here's some targeted programs to expand learning time, as well as be able to do some of the funner things that, instead of, okay, yes, we've extended our time into solely the reading and math academies, because, not necessarily every child wants to go to school, and then also slightly more school after school. So, the kind of liven it up and give, more opportunities for students to, experience new things that they, necessarily wouldn't, have opportunity to do at home or, And then, while I'm going through these, Title I is money specifically targeted towards our low socioeconomic students, including the foster and homeless youth. Title II is geared towards teacher professional development. So in addition to the LCAP, where we have professional development, we also get federal dollars for teacher training. Title III is geared towards English learners, so our ELD students. So to ensure that, again, training for the certificated staff, and as well as other resources for our students that are English learners. Title IV is a little bit more broad span. It's I don't remember the exact title off the top of my head, but it deals more with student wellness. So there's a little bit of technology component to it. We can, use all of it to just, okay, we bought more Chromebooks, and we can use a portion of it, but it goes towards student health and so support services for students in that regard. So, now on to some numbers. But you'll see that the state LCFF revenue more or less flat. There's about a 0.5% increase there. Where you'll see the dramatic decrease in federal revenue is the expiration of all of the one-time COVID funds. The final portion of the ESSER 3 expires in September 30th. So over the last 4 years or so, we were flooded with federal dollars in response to COVID, where part of the solution to, okay, how do we transition from traditional school to, okay, everybody's got to stay home and go into quarantine and all of these other things, was let's go ahead and give schools a bunch of money for one-time use so that they could, we could have the funds to try and build the airplane as we, flew forward into, setting up a plan and then having to redo that plan because, the health department and, stuff like that. So with the reduction in all of that one-time money coming out of, the tail end of ESSER 3, the revenues for the other federal programs are fairly flat for what they used to be. And then the same for the other state revenues. Coming out of COVID, there was more money for ELLP and learning loss mitigation block grant and all of these other state programs. Well, new programs are, the programs we currently have that weren't already expiring aren't being cut. There aren't any new ones being added at the moment. And then other local revenue is kind of a catch-all generic. It's where a lot of our Medi-Cal money comes into their reimbursements for, grant, the pollution control board for buses and stuff like that. That it falls into that catch-all category there, where without anything planned for expenditure there and Medi-Cal having a lot of catch-up already this year, it's projected slightly lower for next year. Any questions on totals?
I think we have our comment in the wrong place.
Do it.
On the top right.
One budget, LCFF, 52 million.
Oh yeah, we do. Look at that.
Scared me for a second.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, that's 4 digits there. Yeah, no.
Just joking, go on.
It's the joy of building the table in PowerPoint instead of Excel. It didn't auto format for me. But one thing before I go back, as we look at the totals and the budget looks at two things concurrently. It is looking at the estimated actual, so that's what is estimated as of the end of this school year, as well as the July 1 budget, so that there's a comparison and it's not everything happening in its own vacuum. So that's why there's so if you look at the SACS reports that are in the board agenda, for my tables are slightly smaller but have much larger font. That's what, the left hand of everything is what is happening, we think, I think before the end of this year, as opposed to when we hit July, what does next year look like? And then when we get into, during the rest of July and August and for a presentation in September is the unaudited actuals, where instead of it being an estimated, by then the books will have been closed long enough to be, this is the actual number that we ended with prior to the auditors coming in for their end of year audit. So, all right, this is where we are with expenditures at this point for the budget. It's overall expenditures are a decrease of 11% from last year. This is again largely due to the expiration of one-time money. We used a lot of one-time money for off-schedule salary, a lot of supplies and services. We did hire, I think we hired district-wide we funded 2 positions with one-time money. We tried to stay away from creating an ongoing position and then funding it with money that we knew was expiring, because if it's got a limited shelf life, we don't need to create a position that's immediately going to be laid off in a year. Our S&C for this upcoming year, so that's our supplemental and concentration dollars from the LCAP, is $13.5 million, and as of the budget, salary and benefits make up 74% of all expenditures for the district. And then going back to breakdown. The fun thing about having to put a budget together in June is that it's also the transition period between school years, and pulling salary and benefit data we're starting with a quasi-incomplete record because of knowing folks are coming and going, and it's prime hiring season now. We know we got teachers and classified staff that are have quit or given notice by the end of the year they're going to quit, and we're in that little bit of valley between, okay, there, you know, so you're gonna see that's partial why there's a large dip in the classified salary as well as the benefits is in order to be able to put together enough information to put together a budget by the end of the month while in the middle of hiring, there's, you know, a weird gap period of, you know, static data that gets pulled. You'll see that our books and supply budget, again, trying to use one-time money on one-time things. It's a lot easier to, you know, not buy supplies than to, you know, have to do mass layoffs. So that's where the, you know, dramatic, you know, the use of one-time funds for books and supplies, funds go away. We, you know, knocking on wood, aren't, you know, needing to turn around and immediately start buying PPE again, like, you know. And then same with some of our services and operating expenditures. Our capital outlay, again, with some of that one-time funds and with our cap carryover from last year, as well as purchasing 3 buses. Last year, we, you know, right now, those expenditures aren't planned for next year. We don't have, you know, we aren't anticipating buying any more buses, and then our, you know, capital. So that, you know, again, dramatic decrease in our capital outlay there. Of some of those bigger ticket items, you know, aren't happening. And then going into 24-25, it's the same as it has been the last couple of years. There's a 10% cap on what districts can have in reserve. So when the state sets up money, and it's a, you know, rainy day fund is the colloquial term for the public school system stabilization account. So that's the state's version of the reserve, so that when, you know, things start to downturn like they are now with state revenues, that there's money set aside that, you know, instead of us getting 80 billion, or at least getting 98.5 billion, because the state is drawing from that reserve. But with what the state's balance is for this account at the beginning of next year, without any of that being drawn down yet, it puts districts into a position where we have to have a reserve cap of 10%. Otherwise, you know, we basically get dinged. We have to, you know, send off a bunch of stuff to CDE about, hey, we told you your cap's reserved. You need to either spend your funds or you need to commit them. This budget commits $8.8 million in unrestricted funds. The largest portion of that is the LCAP carryover of just over $5 million. Is our LCAP carryover from from this year into next year, as well as knowing that we're gonna, as we have the 28 classrooms opening at TMS, the need for the rest of that campus to have some sort of, what I put down as refresh, but some refurbishment. The landscaping needs to be redone. There's other stuff that has to happen over there, so that, you know, it's both functional and, you know, has some sort of aesthetics. It's a, you know, especially the middle part of that campus is a lot older than the newer part. So there's, you know, painting that's currently going on, but landscaping needs to happen. The parking lot, if we could afford it, would be nice to, you know, redo over there. There, you know, there's need over there, as well as the need to relocate some of the low voltage at West Park with, you know, upcoming construction plan there. So in order to ensure the district was below, you know, at 10% or lower, there's committed funds, and item P in the board agenda is the resolution to commit said funds. So that's, you know, a little bit of the rationale behind that before we get to it. So as part of the budget, as well as the interim periods, is a multi-year projection. The districts need to have at least 3 years planned out for their current year and then 2 subsequent years. But what do we look like financially, so that, you know, we don't end one year and then immediately start the next year being like, oh no, everything went bad. Hopefully we, planned and projected things correctly and everything else. So this is the listed the current year assumptions for 24-25. Like I've already talked about, the unrestricted revenue includes the base supplemental concentration. To show where our improvement in LCAP, or not LCAP, in ADA, our 23-24 P2 was 33,568. So we're planning on increasing that number as again we get back into the swing of everything. Our LCAP expenditures have what are called T2 and T3 accounts. So in our accounting software, there are spots where we can identify specific, they're not used by the county or CDE. We can locally identify things, but so in order for budget tracking within our LCAP of, okay, we have goal 1, action 1, how do we identify that? There are spots in there so that, when it comes to mid-year summary and the end of the year, it's not, we're not standing around wondering, okay, what did we spend on? Okay, we got to pull everything together. It's built into the coding structure itself. And then for the end of this year, between ending fund balance and the committed funds, our projected reserves will be 7.86 at the end of 24-25. But again, having that cap of 10%, we're below that, but also still have the planned commitments to know that there are items that need to be addressed. And then we subsequent years, so we that was all for the current year. Now for the out years, these are some of the bigger not bigger, but a little bit hazier aspects to look at is we don't know what state funding is going to be, but we plan to continue to have increased ADA. Step and column raises are about 2 to 3%, depending on bargaining unit. The SS Cal is is a organization that works on school finance, and they publish what is a dartboard of here are key figures that every district should be aware of. What are our what is our funding for mandated block grant? What is our lottery funding for ADA? What is our pension obligations for the cost of STRS and PERS? So using their dartboard to pinpoint things like CPI, where we know things are going to be more. And then until more information is readily available, federal funding is projected flat, and then over the next 2 years, reserves are projected to be, there shouldn't be 24, 25 at the bottom of that. That should be 26, 27 if you look at the criterion standards. Sorry about the wrong year down there. But over time, we're at 7% now. Over the next 2 years, at this point, the multi-year projection shows the reserves increasing slightly. There we go. So there's the unassigned funding balance for each ending fund balance. So funds not committed, but stuff that where revenues have exceeded expenditure. And questions on anything? Have I lost you?
Great job, Robert. Thank you so much.
Liars.
Okay, so item E, certified district budget for the 2024-2025 school year.
So you're just asking us to certify this?
Yeah, so please approve the budget for next school year.
So here, motion, Gutierrez, motion.
Second.
Second by Mr. Coy, discussion? All in favor? Approve resolution 23-2410 regarding delegation of administrative authority to process routine budget revisions, adjustments, and transfer funds to serving.
Alrighty, this is a annual resolution that would grant me the authority to do things like update the budget at the interim periods and, you know, as we move through the year and the financial picture gets more and more clear, as well as if needed, transfer funds between one fund to another. So if needed, money out of general fund into child nutrition or out of,
Gotcha.
move money from one pot to another if needed, obviously with cause and not just, because.
For fun.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to approve resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lett, second by?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Coy, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, approve resolution 23-2411 of the Board of Education of Southern Kern Unified School District designating certain general funds as committed fund balance and survey, which you just mentioned.
Yeah, so it was included in the budget reason, my PowerPoint was the bid on committed funds. This is a resolution to commit said funds for those reasons.
Do I have a motion? Motion by Gutierrez, second by Ms. Lett, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thank you, sir. All right, approved change in contract with the Deli Contracting Inc. Order number 2 for the SKUSD new cafeteria at Rosamond High Early College campus. Total change of $274,554.94. Mr.
Okay. So, vast majority of this change order is the addition to the scope of work for them to remove and replace asphalt behind the gymnasium. So in between where the new cafeteria is going and then all the way towards the west to about the 400s. That's $220,000 where between issues with the asphalt, being raised and uneven, so it's an unlevel walking surface as well as not level, so there were issues with water ponding in between classrooms. We, requested that they go ahead and just redo all of that blacktop so that when the cafeteria is done, it's not new pretty building next to lumpy, kind of waterlogged asphalt that, kind of immediately just deters everything.
Give it character.
Yeah.
That and there's some patching that they were gonna do because we're now hooked up to regular city sewer, and there was cleanouts that they had for the old stuff, and the septic tank that used to be there. Once they remove all that, they were gonna patch, and it's like, why don't they just pour the whole thing at one time and make it look right? And that's what this is. They make it all uniform, not have to put in extra drain gutters by doing it all, so it all flows correctly.
This is only the second change that we've got.
There's
There's a whole lot more.
Okay, well, let's just handle this one. Do I hear a motion? Motion by Ms. Lett to approve,
second.
second by Gutierrez, discussion, all in favor? Aye. Personnel items.
Yes. So, I ask you to approve all of the personnel items, as written with the one correction.
All right.
Page 6.
On page 6.
Yeah.
Office, that part, yeah, we got that. Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Why are these all dated, 6/10/24?
Because that was the first day of summer school.
I know that, but it is now the 26th.
Right, so for this board agenda, everything was due on May 31st. So we were still, putting together, getting numbers from school sites to get all of these people hired. So kind of what we do is back, I think probably February, March, is we ask for, teachers who is interested in teaching summer school. So we kind of get all of that interest, and then we go about and we register all the students. So, it's the process of getting all those students registered and then knowing exactly who we need for summer school. So it's kind of a tight squeeze on there at the very end. So especially for, middle school and high school, because they'll know who needs to take like credit recovery, if it's first semester, excuse me. But for second semester, because it's right there at the very end, they don't necessarily know. And so it definitely is a squeeze there. So, yes.
So the squeezing is happening with existing employees deciding that they are gonna do summer school.
Employees are already saying, yes, I'm interested in doing summer school. So where it comes down to is when we register students, like we generally every year have more teacher interest than we have students. And so then if we put all of the teachers on there, we've had issues in the past where teachers are like, well, I was board approved, I should be teaching summer school. It's not really how it works because we have to do everything based on the numbers of students that actually attend. So that's kind of why we waited till the end, because we try to prevent that confusion and that upset with staff.
Is there a different way to execute that instead of in arrears? Because now these people have already worked the whole session, basically.
Yeah, if
Right.
we didn't approve it,
Right, so then what?
then what?
Well, these are all staff that are already working within the district. So,
Yeah, but
yeah,
it's
if
still,
there is a better way to do it, we certainly can look at it, but, that is really one of the big issues is the fact that if we put everybody on there, we've had people in the past that are upset, well, I was on the board agenda, I was approved, but you don't have a spot for me? So,
I know like the text messages were coming in, like, hey, sign up for summer school, like that last week, and even right up until summer school started.
Sure.
So I
Hear where you're coming from. So
Couldn't
what you
we,
guys are saying is you wanted her to have this back at the end of May.
well, it's basically these
it's,
These people have already worked.
Yeah.
And if we weren't to approve something,
there would be.
then we'd be in a weird situation because people have worked and then we didn't approve to pay
She
them.
said she had to wait for the student numbers of how many students were going to enroll in the summer school, right?
So if I can just add something here, our first board meeting in June was what date, Alma? June
The
the 6th. So I think, just reiterate what Mrs. Hargis was saying, the only alternative to what has happened here is that if the board meeting was on June 6th, then this information, May 31st, is on May 31st, predicated on the number of students we have signed up for summer school. That's the number of teachers that would have been on this agenda. The downfall of that is who gets really hurt if it's done like that. It's the kids whose parents who neglect to sign up or along the way between May 31st and whatever day that Alma had to have this information. I mean, I can see you saying, what if you didn't approve it? We can do it the other way, but we're gonna end up with a minuscule summer school.
Well, I know, I always have a problem approving something that's already been done.
I get it, I understand.
So is there a way for us to approve it like this and then with the understanding that it's based on enrollment and then priority based on longevity or whatever prioritization that you would do, that this isn't a guarantee just because they were approved that they would get a position.
And we do that and we say that every single year.
Well, that's just all that
What we
Well,
do.
But this list is predicated on the number of students, correct?
it is,
Okay.
yes. So like I said, we definitely have more teachers, classified staff, we're always, trying to pull here and there for last minute folks on that end. But we always have many more teachers than we have, summer school spots.
A question for you, Leanne. Do they sign any kind of document that says that they want to do other than the email?
They send a letter of interest.
Okay. The reason why I'm asking that is that in order to preclude that, if we have them sign a document that says, yes, we're accepting your inquiry about teaching summer school. However, there's the amount of teachers that we need will be subject to the amount of students. Therefore, you may not, and it's in writing to them, they can't,
Sure. I send out numerous emails.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that, get them to sign, then there's no complaints at that point. I can see that. That's something, I don't know what the
Yeah,
board
well,
will think about it.
you definitely will take a look at it and see what we can do to make
Because that may help you on that.
Okay.
Alright, do I hear a motion to approve with the correction? Motion by Brendan, seconded by,
Second.
second by Nicolette, all in favor?
I have a question.
I'm sorry, discussion.
So-
One time around, say it.
So we do have 2 summer school sessions. Will there be another list or is this the same
No,
list?
this is the whole list.
So if there's less enrollment on the second session, are some of these teachers not going to be employed?
I believe most of them, I believe everybody on the list, with maybe a few exceptions, will, like there's a couple subs, like there's a sub on here that I know that hasn't, she hasn't subbed. But I think for the most part, everybody else will be on there. We did everything based on the numbers. So we should be good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion by Brendan, second by Nicolette. Alright, B, annual revision of complaint procedure, notice issue form, complaint forms, Williams complaint forms, policies and procedures.
Alright, so I'll move this quick. So starting on page 35 in your board packet, are the Williams complaint procedures. And the Williams complaint procedures are based on, looking at any deficiencies in instructional materials, any kind of emergency or urgent facility,
235?
35, yes.
35 is a,
235.
is a contract.
230. Yes.
235.
That's right. Thank you.
So the Williams is based on, instructional deficiencies in instructional materials, any kind of emergency or facility repairs, and then also for teacher staff vacancies or misassignments. So the first one is just the policies and procedures, how someone would, this explains what they would need to do, and that is in both English and Spanish. And goes through page 243. And then on page 244, there are the Williams classroom notices, and those are also both in English and in Spanish. And those are in any classroom, office, career center, library, anywhere where the students or public will enter. So they have that information. So we'll be getting those out to school sites so they can put those in the classrooms. And then the actual complaint form itself is also here on 246 in English, and then on 248 in Spanish. And then on page 250, this annual notice is uniform complaint procedures. This goes out to all parents, staff, parents and staff. So, as far as passing out to staff, we send them to the school sites and, staff members, both classified and certificated, have to sign that they've received this. And then as far as, parents, we have been, attaching it to Parent Square. This year, we're going to attach it in both English and Spanish to the data confirmation. And that way, parents have to click on it, they have to download it, and say, yes, I saw it, I have it. Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Vince West, seconded by? I'll second. Discussion. Everybody, all right, all in favor? Aye.
Move to adjourn.
Woo! Motion by Vince West, second by Mr. Toy. Discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 9:06. Thank you, Alma. Is it 9:36?
Yes.
Every time I needed a new phone, I had to switch carriers.
I told him,